It is 10 minutes past 8 here on your Corner Brook Morning Show. It's a lot easier to remember what the old days were like in your town when you have the voices and recollections of your oldest citizens. The Pasadena Heritage Society is inviting people to come out tonight for a cup of tea and a chat. The event is officially called the People, Places and Traditions Tea, and it's designed to teach people of all ages how to document the past. Carole Spicer is chairperson of the Pasadena Heritage Society, and she is in our studio here in Corner Brook this morning. Good morning, Carole Spicer.
Good morning, Bernice.
Well, why did the Heritage Society want to have an event like this, first of all?
We gathered a number of interviews from our citizens, and we began to realize the importance of capturing information and also the importance of gathering it from all different ages. So you traditionally think of gathering information from your seniors or your young at heart, but we're finding that the different generations are giving us different views. So we're looking for an event this evening to bring people together of all different ages to share their perspectives of our community and share some of their information and stories of the past.
Now, when I was growing up, my parents always made the distinction between Midland and Southbrook and Pasadena, and now not so much. We don't do that, but obviously you have lots of people who still remember those days.
Absolutely. Actually, two of my great-grandfathers were part of the founding families of Midland, and my father was born in Midland, which really doesn't exist anymore, as you say. So that's part of what drives me to bring this history together and start to bring people to realize there's a bit more to Pasadena than it is today. But at the same time, recognizing what people are experiencing in Pasadena today is heritage for tomorrow. So we want to capture that information as well.
That's very interesting. So what's available right now to tell people about the past? What's there that people could access?
Right now, we're extremely excited to share with your listeners that our collection of interviews, we have approximately 30 interviews so far, were just put up last week on the MUNS Memorial University's digital archives. And they're available to read a transcript, listen to the audio. They can be used for research or just interest. And it's a really big accomplishment for us that we've been working towards for the last couple of years.
So when were these interviews actually conducted, the ones that are available at collections.mun.ca for anyone who's interested in checking it out themselves?
We started collecting about 3 years ago. We've had summer students. This is our third summer of having a summer student, as well as some of us on the committee have been conducting our interviews as well. And so they're fairly recent from that aspect, but we're certainly looking for more information that's out there.
Now, besides the digital online presence of this collection, what kind of a gathering place would you like to have eventually in Pasadena, like a physical presence?
Long term, we obviously have some, a goal of some sort of physical presence. In the interim, we're very pleased to report that we're in negotiations with the town. We've secured some storage cabinets to put some artifacts, because we've been very fortunate. People are coming forward with, we've got this poked away in the kitchen or in the basement, would you like it? And so right now our only delay is we're waiting for some locks so that we can secure the items, but we will have a temporary display. We also have transcripts of our interviews that we're hoping to put in our library, and we have our website and our Facebook page as well.
Now, the Heritage Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador is sending some people to this workshop tonight. Can you talk a little bit about their involvement and what they're going to be up to?
Yep. Dale Jarvis and Tara Barrett are coming from the Heritage Foundation. And Dale came out and spoke to us a couple months ago around Heritage and offered some support. So he's coming out to sort of take us through the People, Places and Traditions Tea and how to actually sort of gather that information in an appropriate manner. And we're also running another event tomorrow in Reedville, and our long-term intention then is to actually conduct similar events all throughout the Humber Valley. So they're coming to sort of guide us in how to do this.
So would that broaden the scope of what you'd be trying to accomplish as a Pasadena Heritage Society?
Pasadena Heritage Society will still focus on Pasadena, but the Humber Valley Heritage Society, which we're sort of partnering with in this initiative, is looking to bring heritage together around the Humber Valley. There's been some consultations done with various stakeholders in heritage and in the region, and it does seem as if we're looking to have a collective effort. So, for instance, you go to the museum in Deer Lake, where do you go next? Well, we're very pleased to say that our bridge in Pasadena has been declared a municipal heritage site. So that could be something that long-term we see sort of a Humber Valley heritage tour by getting the municipalities come together and the people and communities come together.
So when you say the bridge, that's the one that connects the main street with Church Street?
Yes. Yeah. So that bridge was built in 1936. It was part of the original highway. And I always like to share the story that many people don't know, that the lead hand, the gentleman that came to build that bridge, married the daughter of Leonard Earl, who was the founder of Pasadena. So if he hadn't come through, it was Hugh Atkinson, if he hadn't come through building the road, then his descendants may not be there. So it's kind of an interesting quirk.
And how important is it, the stories that you're recording, in a digital format and sharing, how important is that to preserving the past, do you think?
I think it's really important. And I'll give you an example of a story, an interview that I did with a gentleman, Patrick Whalen. And he shared a story in that interview of my great-grandfather that I had never heard.
Wow.
And when he told the story, it was a kindness that my great-grandfather had shown him. And he said, I still get choked up about it. And I came to tears.
I'm sure.
And this happened 75 years ago when he was 15 years old. And so it was a piece of my great-grandfather that I had never heard before. And to me, he brought that to me. So that's just one little snippet of an hour interview, and it just really resonated with me. So I think it's important. And the other piece that happened that was really neat for us was last summer, our summer student, did the interviews and contacted me in, I think it was November. I'm doing a paper for school. She'd gone back into St. John's to school. Can I use some of this information for my paper? And I said, absolutely. That's why we collect it, and that's why we get permissions from people to do this, and that's why we're now excited to have it on Mun's archives. So for her to be able to use something real in her paper from her hometown, it made it worth it to me.
Brings history to life.
It really does. And it's interesting because she was out for a walk with my daughter, telling her about all the things she'd learned about the community. Of course, my daughter goes, yeah, Mom tells us all the time. But, she was learning stuff of her own community that she hadn't known, and she was born in the community and hadn't come across that information before. So to me, you're absolutely right. It just makes it real.
And, so often I find with our community histories, we think that it's just, let's place an artifact on a shelf somewhere. But without the stories behind those artifacts, then really it doesn't come to life.
Exactly. And that's the piece I've come in my own family history. I have tons of dates, but I don't know the stories of the individuals. And so this tangent that we're kind of on, which is where Dale and Tara really support, because Dale Jarvis is the Intangible Cultural Heritage Officer. And it's about that intangible piece. So part of tonight is people, places, and traditions. It's not just, well, that's where Brennan's store used to be, which is a place. It's traditions. And I was thinking coming down this morning, Mom told me a story one time of, at the last day of school, you had to go swimming at Pasadena Beach. Now, swimming in Deer Lake, June 23rd or so is makes you a little chilled, but to think that was their tradition. That's the kind of stuff we hope to capture tonight.
That's almost a polar dip in Newfoundland.
Exactly.
On June 23rd. Well, Carole Spicer, what are you hoping people will do this evening? Just give us once again the times and the locations for the event this evening and the one in Reedville.
Yep. So this evening we're at the Pasadena Place, which is the new recreation or community center on 10th Avenue in Pasadena. It starts at 6:30. We're hoping for people to come out, have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, share a story. We're going to have some large community maps, and we're going to be capturing those ideas on the maps. So if you, like I say, I mentioned Brennan's or the railway. How many people of the younger generation don't realize where the railway went through Pasadena? So things like that. We're going to capture those, and hopefully one memory will spark another memory. And then the same thing is happening tomorrow afternoon in Reedville, and that's at the Community Hall in Reedville at 1:30 to 4:30. And we're hoping not just residents of these communities, but your listeners that are in the listening area that may have grown up in Pasadena or Reedville, please feel free to come out. You don't have to be a member of the community today.
Wonderful. We wish you well with this. Thanks so much for coming in and telling us a bit about it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. Thank you.